Hi. So, making story videos isn't really the most high-octane form of entertainment, and while I'd love to give you something like that, this is kind of a fun story that I sort of want to tell you. So, grab a bag of popcorn and chill out. So the only background you really need to know about this story is that I am a third-year dental student, and that's pretty much all you gotta know. So I'm in the clinic today, and I'm seeing a patient, and I'm just doing a simple filling for them. So to do this filling, I'm allotted 3 hours. That's just how long the appointment is. Trust me, it does just kind of take that long in dental school. So the patient unfortunately arrives about 10 minutes late, which is not that big of a deal. And I get the patient seated and I, go over the health history and all the boring stuff. And then I go to ask the doctor for our start check. So believe it or not, by the time the doctor comes to my cubicle to give me a start check, it's now 45 minutes after the appointment should have started. So if the astute among you will do the math and say, oh, Scott, you wasted 30 minutes talking with the patient and then waiting for a start check. The answer is yes. That is exactly what happened. Anyway, it is 9:45 in the morning, and the doctor comes over to give me a start check. Now, he looks at the patient, he says, I want you to use a rubber dam. Now, a rubber dam is basically like this sheet of rubber that you put over a tooth that really, it helps to just isolate the tooth. So then when you work on it, no saliva or none of like the tongue gets in the way and stuff like that. Long story short, it's difficult to do. Almost anybody will tell you that rubber dams are tough when you first do them. Now, I'm a dental student, so obviously I haven't been out there practicing for 100 years, so I'm not very good at them yet. So I was planning on using something that wasn't a rubber dam to basically do everything that a rubber dam would do. I was going to use something called an isolite, which basically would suck up all the water and provide light in the mouth and also retract the cheek and the tongue and all that good stuff. So I was looking forward to using this isolite. The doctor's like, no, you're using a rubber dam. And I'm like, oh, okay. And you can't just say no, that the doctor said so you have to do it. So I run off and I start grabbing all the stuff, the rubber dam, not a big deal. I get seated and I'm fiddling with this rubber dam, and I haven't done one in a while, so it's not going very quickly. I'm sort of futzing around, and finally I get in there, and it's probably like 10:15 at this point, and that's being generous. It was probably later. But needless to say, our 3 hours is slowly getting smaller, and I haven't even started the filling yet. So, I do the scary dentist thing and I get the patient numb, and then it's time to start the filling. So I'm doing the filling and it's going just fine. It's just a normal filling, not a big deal. I'm just working through it. And, before I get to the next segment of this, I just want to remind you of what I'm wearing. I always wear an undershirt underneath my scrubs, and then the scrubs, and then we have a white coat over the top of that, and then we have to wear a mask, obviously, and I'm wearing a pair of dental loops, like the glasses that doctors wear so they can see in magnification. And I'm also wearing a surgical cap because if I sweat out my forehead, and I'm just really sweaty, so I wear that to basically keep me dry. So I'm wearing a lot of stuff, and I'm really warm. So anyway, I'm doing the filling, it's going just fine, and I stand up, I grab the doctor's attention and say, hey, I'm ready for the prep check. So there's basically 3 segments of doing a filling on a tooth, where you cut the tooth, that's called a preparation, and then you fill the tooth with a tooth colored resin, which is called a restoration. So you do a prep check and then a restoration check. So I'm doing the prep check. So I stand up and I walk over to the doctor. I step out of the cubicle. I say, hey doc, I'm ready for a prep check. So he kind of walks up to me and he goes, you got a little something there. And he kind of points to my neck or my chest. So I use the backside of my glove to kind of poke that area just to see what he's talking about. And I pull the glove out to look at it, and there's just blood all over it. So I'm not being completely honest about the story, because about 5 minutes earlier during the tooth cutting, I realized I was getting a nosebleed. But I've had nosebleeds my entire life, and I know how they feel and I know how they work. For me, I get them, and it takes me all of about 2 minutes to get it under control, and then I'm back to normal. I feel this nosebleed come on, and I think to myself, the tooth looks pretty good. I'm probably good for a prep check. I'm just gonna keep sniffling like you normally do to keep the blood from flowing out of your nose. And I'm gonna ask that when I ask the doctor for the prep check, that's when I'm going to take care of the nosebleed. While he's checking the tooth, I'll just step to the side, take a paper towel, and just take care of it, and I can get back to work. Apparently, I was not managing it very well. I think it was so hot and humid that I couldn't even feel that there was blood flowing out of my nose. Because again, the doctor's like, you got something there, and it's just blood. And I'm like, oh crap. And he's like, you should probably go to the bathroom. Now, mind you, my patient is just laying in this chair with this massive rubber dam in her mouth, and her tooth is just cut right open. But I have blood on me, so I obviously need to go fix that. So I kind of just don't heed a second thought, and I just make a break for the bathroom. Now I just have to walk through one set of doors and then the actual door to the bathroom, and then I'm there. It took me no time at all to get there. I go right in the bathroom, and I round the corner where there's like the urinals and the mirror, and I look in the mirror and I am just shocked with what I see. I am like completely covered in blood. I don't even think I can show the picture on YouTube. Like, I took a picture of it after the fact, but like, I had blood all underneath my chin. It soaked into my undershirt and like onto like the chest part of my scrubs, and there were just drips and drops everywhere. And I'm wearing a white lab coat, so obviously it's like super easy to see. I'll spare you the details of like me cleaning it up, but let me just tell you, it was a complete mess. It looked like a crime scene had occurred on my body. So I get myself all cleaned up, and basically I have the white lab coat. I took it off and I kind of balled it up so then none of the blood was showing on the outside. And of course I have all the blood like on my chest. So I take the coat and I hold it against my chest so then you really don't see any blood on the outside. And I have to go back in there and finish this prep, because now it's like, I think it's like 11 o'clock now. So I only have an hour left, and the tooth cutting part is done. And now it's time to fill the tooth, which I could do that in an hour, but I have to get back and start doing that. But obviously I need a coat. Like, I can't walk back in there with this bloody coat. So I have to go get a new coat. So I hold this coat against my chest. To go get a new coat, I have to walk across the entire building. Thankfully, I have to walk across the entire building downstairs. So I'm on the second floor. So I walk down 2 flights of stairs and I'm in the basement. And in the basement, only people that are down there are just dental students. So if anybody sees blood, they're probably not going to be too concerned. So I walk all the way down there. I grab a new coat. I had the foresight to grab like a trash bag. So I threw the bloody coat into the bag and tied it up. So I grab a new coat. I use the bag with the bloodied coat in it. And I hold it against my chest. Then again, people can't see me while I'm walking. So I walk back the way I came, up the 2 flights of stairs, back into the clinic so that I can get back to the prep. And I walk back, and the doctor, of course, is like, "Oh my gosh, like, are you good?" And he's like, "What's your blood pressure?" I'm like, "Dude, do you think I like stopped and checked what my blood pressure is? Like, it's probably high, because like you stressed me out with this rubber dam, and like I got maybe at best 45 minutes to finish this whole thing, and if I don't, then it's gonna be a mess. I have a patient later that day too, so I only have an hour between patients to take down my room, eat lunch, and then set up the next room. So there's just not much time I'm working with here. So I'm stressed out. I take the bloody bag with the bag with the bloody coat in it, and I put it on the side, and I can't just dispose of this coat because like it's gonna get blood everywhere. So I just put it down, and I said to the doctor, I'm like, "Hey, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but like here it is." And he's like, "I'll figure out what to do with it. You just get back to work." So at this point I'm under control. I have a lab coat on, but I have all this blood like stick like in like the cleavage area. I got all this blood sticking out of the coat, and so I grab like a patient bib and I just kind of stuff it in there, like almost like I'm like an actual bib. Like I just like stuffed it underneath my collar and then put the lab coat on over that. So then the blood was underneath the bib. So now on the outside, I look totally fine, but like 1 layer deep, I am just covered in blood. So I sit back down and like, this is just so much going on. So my hands are just shaking, and thankfully I'm done with the actual cutting of the tooth. So having shaky hands isn't that big of a deal. So I sit down, I pound out the rest of everything like a total champ. I get it all done. At the very end of it all, I was maybe like 10 minutes over the time I was supposed to be done. Like, you're supposed to be done at noon. I ended up being done at 12:10. And I released the patient and just sent her on her way. And then I came back and I kind of took down the room and just tried my best to clean everything up. Thankfully, the blood didn't really get on the floor or anything. It kind of just got on my clothes. You know, I have a patient this afternoon, and I would like to eat lunch, but that's kind of optional at this point. So I'm just trying to go as fast as I can to get things taken down. This is kind of the end of the story. That's sort of all that happens. Now this is just sort of the aftermath. So I clean up the room and I throw the second coat that's on my person. I throw that into the hopper with all the other coats. This one thankfully didn't get any blood on it from what was underneath it. So now what I need to do now is I need to go back downstairs to get a new coat for the afternoon appointment that I have. And I also need to go home and change. Thankfully, I live right across the street, so it's not that big of a deal. But so I am like about to walk out, and I am again just bloody. So I left the bib on. And I start walking downstairs, and I just look really weird. Like, just imagine a guy walking with a bright blue bib just like hanging on them, almost like it's like a Tom and Jerry thing where they're like, "Oh, it's time to eat the steak," and like they all put the bib on underneath their collar. It looks just like that. It looks really stupid. And obviously it's way better than just walking around with a bunch of blood, because that's going to raise way more questions than just, why does this guy have a bib on? So I'm just kind of walking through the halls. People are giving me weird looks. I think one of my classmates actually saw that I was bloody, because he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm good." I just kind of kept walking, just didn't pay much attention to it. So I make it, I grab the coat, and then I just kind of leave my stuff somewhere and I go home. And I take off pretty much every article of clothing I have on me, and I just try my best to clean up as much of the blood that's like, at this point, like caked on my skin at this point. It's kind of nasty, I'm sorry. And then I put on a new pair of scrubs and I go back to set up for the next appointment. And, I had a decent amount of time to set up for the next appointment, but needless to say, I didn't eat a lunch, which is totally fine. I'm a big guy. I can handle it. So yeah, that's kind of it. My night right now is trying to figure out how to get blood out of both a white undershirt and a pair of scrubs. So right now, my main tactic is to put it into a bathtub with some cold water, let it soak, and then throw it in the washer, and hopefully that'll take care of it. I don't have any OxyClean. I should have some, but I'm a guy and I don't clean, so I don't really have that. So yeah, that's sort of the end of it. I know it's not the most interesting thing that's ever happened, but it was just one appointment that really just went south, and it was quite the humbling experience. So yeah, if you made it to the end of this video, you're a real champion. If you did like it, I won't know to do this again unless you guys like the video and, share it and stuff. If it helps to incentivize you, if this gets enough traffic, I'll do another one where I tell a story about how I got hit by a drunk driver. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a better day than I did. Excuse me, sorry, I forgot to mention. Remember when I said that the doctor was going to go take the coat away and figure out what to do with it? Turns out he actually just threw it away. He asked the sterilization people, like, what do I do with this? And they're just like, it's soiled too much. We're literally just going to throw this thing away. So I am personally responsible for an entire white coat just simply being thrown away. So that's great.